Hey guys, Tarke here, and I'm going to talk about my new build while I do some leveling, because I'm leveling my new build, which is going to be some kind of Quill Rain, most likely, Ellie, Trinity, Rain of Arrows, Slayer. Either crit or non-crit. So in my last video, I said I want to do something with bows, and probably something with Slayer, and I was thinking about maybe resurrecting a build I played many moons ago, which was a immolate tornado shot Slayer from, like, it was either Harvey or Abyss League. I think it was Abyss League. I played it a really long time ago. It was one of my favorite builds I'd ever played, and it was kind of like, it was before the Ellie hit rework, and it was that kind of a playstyle basically. So it was kind of like the progenitor to that build, or that kind of like approach anyway to making Slayer bow builds. And I've always really liked bow builds. Bow builds have always been my favorite kinds of builds, generally in Path of Exile. But I sort of lost interest in them when it was like, there was a couple of changes to specifically how bow scaling functioned, and then a couple of changes to how some of the skill gems worked. I've never been a massive fan of the whole barrage setup, like the whole barrage support gem meta. My favorite bow skills were always like tornado shot, scourge arrow, skills where you use like the same clear and single target skill. So that's been a big reason why I haven't played many attack-based bow builds for a long time. So when I recently decided that actually, you know what, I'm going to try and do some, you know, multi-Ellie bow vibes, I started looking through all different skill gems, and I'm like, what do I want to play? Am I going to try and remake Scourge Arrow vibes? And Mathil did a try Ellie Scourge Arrow build last league. Looked pretty good. It's probably just better this league, because that's the sort of thing I was going to be looking at. And then I remember when we had the Bay class going into 317, and Ziggy was talking about wanting to play bow builds, Noogie said, like, why don't you just take like a lightning strike tree and just like put in Rain of Arrows or something? And I'm like, oh my god, Rain of Arrows is a skill. I'd forgotten Rain of Arrows was a skill. So I'm like, oh, Rain of Arrows seems really interesting. So I have a little scoot around on Pee-wee Ninja, and there's actually one absolute savage doing a Omniscience Rain of Arrows Slayer, level 98 in softcore trade. I'll leave a link to his profile down below if you want to see what a very min-max setup looks like. But it's probably got to be at least passable if you're going to play it all the way through to 98. At this point, it's now got like Headhunter and stuff. I've been watching his profile change a little bit over the last couple of days, and he's doing precise technique vibes, Omniscience, a little bit of stat stacking, with just like a random try Ellie bow, and it looks pretty decent. I'm like, interesting. I'm going in kind of a different direction. Obviously, I don't have an Omniscience. I'm playing an SSF. My original intention was to do something with Quill Rain. My idea is to get a bunch of additional flat Ellie from sources like Abyss Jewels, auras, just gearing, itemization, mostly. Make use of Trinity, get a bunch of projectile speed, convert my projectile speed into damage increases through the new masteries, and that's kind of the direction I'm going in it. Now, the whole precise technique thing, I don't know how good that'll be in the end game with this kind of a setup. I'm planning on most likely going crit, but I am currently leveling as precise technique. I will stick with precise technique for as long as I can. And one of the nice things about being a Slayer is we have access to the 1 ascendancy node, which gives 8% base crit chance to any weapon. So suddenly you can take, you know, something like a Quill Rain or just like a try Ellie Thicket, completely ignore crit chance as a stat, and then just force 8% base, which is very strong. If we don't go for that node, and we stick with the Slayer setup, we have a couple of different options which are quite powerful. So we can go for maximum frenzy charge scaling, which also gives us endurance charge scaling, which was something I was looking into when I was thinking about maybe using Gluttonous Tide as an option. Now, you still need a source of generating endurance charges, but it's not that difficult to shove Enduring Cry into the build. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points. And you're like, oh, 11 points is a lot of points. But along the way, you're getting pretty choice stuff. You're getting access to some maximum resistances, getting access to some good life nodes, getting access to some aura stuff. So investment I was going to spend going up to that part of the tree could spend going down that way if I chose to go Masterful Form. I don't know if I will go Masterful Form. But otherwise, even just going for Headsman plus Endless Hunger is great. Because Endless Hunger gives you stun, gives you a bunch of attack speed, gives you a bunch of extra leech, and gives you unaffected by bleeding. Extra leech, stun immunity, bleed immunity. It's pretty solid. That's worth 2 ascendancy points if you ask me. So that seems really solid. One cool thing about doing stuff as duelist is it's very powerful from a Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh duel point of view. Obviously, I play SSF, so, you know, getting access to those insane duels is very difficult, but, you know, if you're ever going to plan around that stuff, duelist is a pretty good place to be. You've got some very choice nodes that you can be picking up. I don't know if I actually... one thing about leveling with that precise technique node is you need to balance your life to your accuracy. I don't know if I've offshot that, but oh well. You need to keep in mind that, yeah, you've got a lot of really good options. You can get arena charges from Gladiator, which is what the level 98 guy is doing, which is giving you a great source of action speed. You could go for just any of the defensive nodes from Gladiator. You could go for the Frenzy Endurance Charge Generation node from Gladiator. From Champion, obviously, you've got Fortify, which is very strong. It would be the most attractive one, obviously. But a lot of the other Champion nodes are just excellent. The Adrenaline node is super underrated, very, very powerful. You've got the free banner, which when you're running Defiance banner is great. That's mana reservation, and it gives a bunch of aura effect, and it gives a bunch of life regen. The life regen, less valuable, because we're most likely going to run Volpact in this build with Super Leech. But I might not run Volpact. I might just use Slayer Super Leech and keep hold of my regen. I haven't played Slayer for many years. And the whole, like, do you take Volpact, do you not take Volpact thing, you know, it depends. Ideally, you know, you have something like it's Zero's Acuity, and then you only have Volpact when you want it, which is nice, because having Volpact when you're running stuff like Lad can be quite irritating. One thing I was looking into as a build option before I settled in on this one was looking to see how I would go about making Impale Bow Champion. So I know Ziggy wanted to league start that build. He did league start build. He wasn't having a very fun time with it. I gave it some research. I looked into it, and I found some pretty nice looking setups using Split Arrow for clear, and then Barrage Split Arrow for single target. Again, I'm just not a big fan of the whole Barrage playstyle, which is the main thing that put me off that. But, you know, if I happen to fall into some very good gear for that, I can always respec between Slayer and Champion quite easily. Which, yeah, it's pretty interesting. A few neat things about this build is it makes great use of Focus Ballista with Artillery Ballista. So Artillery Ballista has pretty good synergy with the Rain of Arrows playstyle, because you both shoot them up in the air. Also, I really love the new Vol Rain of Arrows. Super fun. And the leveling's been pretty smooth. Now, obviously, we're kind of twinked out. You know, we're rocking some pretty choice leveling items. Tassilo giving us a bunch of flat cold. Barrett's giving us a bunch of flat lightning. Bunch more flat lightning. Then, obviously, 5-link Quill Rain. But, like, you know, nothing too crazy. If we can keep this level of damage through into the end game, I'd be pretty happy with the performance of the build. We probably will have some gear drop-offs at some point, obviously. But the main scaling for this kind of build is basically attack speed, flat elemental damage, keep our LE damage rolls kind of balanced for proccing Trinity, and use Trinity for penetration. If I was playing this in a trade league, I would maybe look into something like Shroud of the Lightless as a pretty nice early 5-link. Get that global LE pen, really nice alongside Trinity. And it'd be something like Rain of Arrows, Mirage Archer, elemental damage with attacks, Trinity, an added cold, added lightning, something like that. If you had a woke one, don't have to run it, but you know, it's kind of nice. And then like LE pen global. If you didn't have the LE pen global, you could just run added cold and added lightning. They are slightly nerfed, so maybe they're slightly weaker. Life Tap is a potential support as well, depending on how my mana reservation looks. Probably going to be going Great Determination, Defiance, Banner, Herald of Ice. Maybe doing the Blessing, Life Tap, Anger setup, just a little bit of extra single target. as needed. If you're wondering why I'm skipping over Arch Nemesis, I'm only skipping over it while leveling. Because I've got a pretty full inventory. Saying that, though, I have been collecting all the Berserker. I'll speak of the devil. That's funny the way that works. I've been picking up all the Berserker ones because uniques are always nice, and you can do interesting things with uniques. But yeah, I think this will be a build that I'll quite enjoy. It's pretty flexible. There's a few different directions I can go with it, which will be interesting. And it's relatively unknown because, like, there's not really anyone playing it. Let me bring up the Pee-wee Ninja of that guy I was chatting about earlier so you can get an idea, Trade League players, what that looks like. Here we go. Let me move my cam. So, he's got himself a pretty good, but nothing too spectacular, Tri-Ellie Highborn bow with attack speed on it. Okay, nothing too crazy there. He's non-crit, keep in mind, so this is pretty whatever as well. Projectile speed stacked, crafted life. It's got some flat fire damage on there. Increased damage with bow skills, more projectile speed. Black Sun Crest for the percent stat scaling to go alongside with Omniscience. So Omniscience gives penetrate 1 Ellie res per 10 Omniscience and Ellie res per Omniscience. So this guy is just getting a whole bunch of elemental pen. Omniscience is attribute stacking, so seems kind of interesting. Chest, nothing that fancy. Some life, some extra life is ES because he goes Ghost Shrouds. Ventors, not getting any damage there. Accuracy, 1 flat fire roll. Flat fire damage against burning enemies. That's another thing which is quite cool about this build, is the new gain rage on hit with attacks, which is interesting, getting access to rage on a bow build. And yeah, so the gear's nothing that crazy. The Headhunter was a recent pickup. He didn't have that when I first looked into his build. That's how he did his skill tree. My skill tree looks kind of different. This is sort of what I'm looking at. Ignore the points. Obviously, I just kind of threw everything in there. I sort of like the idea of. This has obviously too many points. But it's got pretty much capped spell suppression just from the tree, which is kind of neat. So you'd obviously drop off some spell suppression. I went over this way. I could probably cut off everything past here. But I kind of like the idea of getting these attack speed rage nodes, using the new rage on glove vibe. Gives you access to more life, access to more armor evasion. Get the onslaught nodes, get some extra leech. Might be able to cut all of this entirely. Getting access to more armor evasion. Armor evasion scaling here, armor evasion scaling here, here, and here. So it's got a good chunk of increased armor and evasion, which is quite nice. With 0 gear equipped, no floss, no nothing. Nice 17k evasion, 8.6k armor. Pretty respectable. You'd go pure armor evasion hybrid pieces throughout. You've got 10% damage reduction from Brutal Further. You've got the Super Leech. You've got the Stun Immune, the Bleed Immune. You've got a whole bunch of damage. You've got the Cull. Yeah, seems like a pretty neat package. Pretty neat package. Pretty good in there. Get some increased accuracy vibes. Get the Frenzy Charge generation with the new Mark shenanigans. Yeah, I think that's kind of one way of doing the tree on like a non-crit version. Again, not sure how far precise technique will carry, but it's something I'm going to try out. And then a crit tree would probably look something kind of like this. Not too confident in this top section. That's kind of like the base. Point blank is something I need to play with, whether or not I like point blank or not. I didn't actually plan point blank in this core one. When I've played Rain of Arrows in the past, I kind of ummed and ahed over point blank. Obviously, really nice while bossing. Sometimes while mapping, I like just to be off-screening things. It will fall into how tanky I feel if I want to be face tanking everything. And also from like a movement speed point of view, how active I'm attacking, how much I'm relying on my Mirage Archer setup. Skills, nothing fancy. Auras, a Sniper's Mark, some Rain of Arrows stuff, a Quill Rain, insert other items. If you've got any suggestions for things I could do on the build to make it better, if you've tried out this kind of an idea, let me know. If you think there are any other skills that could maybe be better. There's stuff like Storm Rain, but visually Storm Rain is pretty ouchy on the eyeballs, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But yeah, if you've got any interesting setups that you think something worth considering, please let me know. The only question I really have about this build is I don't really know how Rain of Arrows interacts with Azanas Chant. If you guys know, it's something I can test, I just haven't got around to testing it yet. How does Rain of Arrows function with stuff like Flame Wall and Tornado? If it does function, excellent. If it doesn't function, well, it makes my plans of maybe using it as an chant a little bit funky. So yeah, that's something I need to work out. But anyway, I'm Tarke, that's my plan. This is how it's going. So far, so good, but we're leveling with Twink Gear, so we would hope it's going good. Have a good day. But bye.